Greetings, everyone. This is Rambling Collector here, back with another Halloween 2022 review for all of you. And today, we will be talking about a book series that is a very similar vein to Goosebumps, but is under the pretense of an independent author. Today, we shall be talking about Hellman Elementary by Richard M. Bourne. Let's begin. So to begin, Hellman Elementary has a very similar vibe to the classic tales of Goosebumps. However, unlike Goosebumps, which incorporated the shared universe at a far later stage in the game, Hellman Elementary does it right from the start. I was actually lucky enough to meet the author himself at a recent Comic-Con in Bowling Green, and I was actually lucky enough to buy the first 2 books of his series, 2 out of 5, I should say. Which, I will say this first of all, the books are very nicely sized, only about 100 or so pages. You could probably finish them in, say, an hour or so, if you're a fast reader. But I will also say this. The whole entire shared universe concept really comes to life here in Hellman Elementary, where it branches out into another type of children's horror. All of it occurring, of course, at elementary school. So these are children being haunted by these monstrosities. And they incur a lot of different creepy factors in here. Like the school itself is very supernatural. You have a frogman running around in the catacombs. You have spiders hanging out in the lunchroom by the garbage cans. And if you get too close, you will be their next meal, instead of the leftovers you get from the cafeteria. The teachers act out whenever you say the word weird around them. There are moving portraits everywhere. Your classic elementary school style horror. But the biggest catch for me was in fact during the first book, where they actually discover a massive, kind of a prison complex really, or a dungeon, right under the school that contains a whole menagerie of monsters. The first one in fact that they face was a seaweed monster that had somehow escaped and was being offered blood sacrifices every year or 2. And quite frankly, that was actually a fascinating concept. Having monsters that are just that terrifying, lurking right under the schools, along with the other creepiness factors here, definitely was an interesting concept. Not to mention, the whole shared universe concept is brought to life here far more equally and far more well executed. Because of the fact that all these characters interact in one way or another with other characters from previous books. They do not know about what they might be going through, but by that sheer interaction, it encourages more of the whole shared universe concept. Now, one of my personal favorites thus far that I have read has been book number 2, Jurassic Field Trip, where we go outside of the school and have the children visiting a dinosaur theme park, only to find out that there are dinosaurs still living past the Jurassic time, having adapted into humanoid forms and hiding among the attractions, which I thought was brilliant. Keep the dinosaurs alive, but more importantly, have them adapt, have them hiding in plain sight throughout all those years. And I must say, it was well executed for a good story. Not to mention, it definitely had a good twist of comedy, when in fact these dinosaurs are trying to resurrect this old skeleton, a very powerful predator. And this ginormous predator actually had the name of Bob, one of the most feared predators in all the Jurassic times, and it was named Bob. Honestly, I found that quite amusing, not going to lie. Would I recommend Hellman Elementary? Yes, I would, especially if you're in the mood for more kids horror after Goosebumps, or if you want to introduce your children to horror itself. It's very safe, a bit spooky, but honestly, it's very harmless. It does have some good humor, and honestly, who wouldn't be able to relate to the first day of elementary school? New schools are always terrifying. We all see that. Everything that we see could be supernatural. This just heightens it up to 11, making the monsters very real. So, let's talk about the score. Overall, I feel comfortable placing Hellman Elementary at a good solid 7 out of 10. It is good, but not over the top fantastic. However, I will say it is good for children's horror, and not to mention if you're trying to get your children into horror, or if you are just reintegrating, like myself, into the horror genre, and you want to start off with something a little more friendlier, a little less over the top spooky, this is definitely the one I would recommend. And in all honesty, once again, the shared universe concept is key here. Not to mention, each book has a very different character narrating the story. So all in all, very immersive, very well done, great writing, good if you want to spend an afternoon reading, or at least a day, reading 5 children's books. So, with that being said, I have one more question for all of you before I conclude this video. After reading both series of Goosebumps and Hellman Elementary, which would you say is better? Which would you say is the most spookiest? Which one do you think embodies the whole shared horror universe the best? Which one do you think was the best written? Let me know in the comment section down below. And happy Halloween, my fellow readers.